Please hold. Your call is very important to us. All operators are busy at this time.
The pressure has never been higher. Hello and welcome to the final playday of the Six Masters 2020 season. I'm Guz and Raven will be joining me for all of tonight's action, and once again we should be in for an absolute treat.
We really are. It is two different stories here tonight, but it's all about that top four. We've got a battle for the top two, and of course the battle to find out who the final team making playoffs will be.
Of course, make sure you guys at home stay up to date with all of the action across Six Masters at Rainbow Six ANZ on all of your favourite social media platforms. And of course, you can jump onto the poll on Twitter. And again, if this season has proven anything, it's that these results are incredibly difficult to pick, and tonight should be no exception at all.
Absolutely. I mean, you and I have talked about it extensively off air before we started, and both of these matches are going to be really tough to call. It's really exciting, and it's a great way to be able to finish the regular season for Six Masters.
Well, the standings are incredibly tight. Let's have a peek before we jump into tonight. And I think it's important that we take a moment to sort of soak in what's in front of us before we head into tonight. As you mentioned, there's a battle for first, there's a battle for fourth, and there's a lot to take in. So we'll start off, I think, Raven, by looking at the top. Of course, Wildcard and Okami, they're facing off tonight, and there's a chance that one of those teams could end up in first place for the playoffs.
Yeah, so this really shapes up the top three here. Wildcard and Okami playing each other does mean one of them can outright take first place. But also, if Okami do manage to not win a map at all, Sinister can retain second. There's a bit of math involved there, but that's where that top-end battle is. But of course, there's the ever-important match that's later in the night, guys, between Ferox and LFO. And that is going to decide who gets that coveted fourth spot for playoffs.
It's going to be incredibly close. Let's look at the matchups for tonight. Of course, these are the last two games of the entire season. And up first, it's the Battle of the Titans, Okami taking on Wildcard.
And boy, that is going to be an absolute banger of a matchup. Okami had a really solid series against Elevate just the other night. That was Tuesday. They managed to win both of those maps. And Wildcard, you would have seen them play off last night as well in a very strong series against the Knights. So here they are battling it out, like we said, for those top positions.
And then, of course, later in the night, a match that is arguably of even more importance. It's Team Ferox take on LFO. And basically, at the end of the day, the winner of that series, will head to the playoffs. And that is the highest stakes these teams have had for the entire season. And it's going to be an absolute battle to the death.
Yeah, as you said at the start of the night, the pressure hasn't been higher, especially for Ferox and LFO here. So that series is definitely one to stay around for.
Well, they are third heading into tonight. Let's have a look at the Okami roster. And this is a team that has performed decently so far this season, but I think tonight will prove if they really have what it takes to be first here in ANZ.
Yeah, up until this point, they have only lost 3 maps. One of those is to LFO, one to Ferox, and one to Sinister. But generally, they have looked pretty good. A lot of overtime victories at that, though. So it's not like they've not had their struggles. Keep an eye out for players like Ippy. He was very instrumental in their series against Elevate and many other series as well. And I've got to say, QD has been a strong force for Okami in this season.
Well, they're first. They've had a fantastic season so far. It's wildcard, and they're coming in tonight looking hot. They've only dropped 1 map so far in the entire season, and I think they're going to be fighting hard to try and retain top spot.
Yeah, and that one map, it was a 5-7 in the end, and that was actually to LFO on Clubhouse. And outside of that, they rarely looked in doubt. They've had 1 overtime match, and other than that, they've won it all in 7 rounds, or within the regulation at least. So really strong season from Wildcard. All of their players stepping up. I mean, Ethan's had some outstanding performances, some big matches, but so have their 2 newer players in Pat and Geo.
And of course, keep in mind that despite the fact that wildcard, they're locked into the playoffs, all right? So they cannot fall out of the top 4. But again, they're going to be fighting hard to try and keep first. Assuming seeding works the way that we come to expect, they want to be in the best position to give themselves a really nice chance in that playoff bracket, which will happen in about a month's time.
Yeah, and with that, I mean, basically the 2 series tonight could be dictating one of the first matches in playoffs. If it is first versus fourth, could potentially be wildcard versus the winner of that second series. We won't know, but it could be how it shapes up, and it does create some interesting dynamics. And look, this first series is going to be really tight.
Well, the map veto, it's always important. Let's have a look at what maps we won't head to. We're probably expecting the likes of Border to be taken out. And there we go. It will be by wildcard as always. And Theme Park actually followed up there by Okami. And for me, that's a pretty interesting ban because wildcard is one of the teams in ANZ that's had quite a bit of playtime actually on that map and with pretty good success.
Yeah, they have played it quite a bit, and they've had some good results. They struggled a little bit with Sinister in the very first week of Six Masters. They ended up winning that 7-5. But outside of that, they've had some really dominant victories on Theme Park. I'd just say Okami don't want to be touching that.
Alright, let's roll through the picks. 1 for each team, of course. Consulate for Wildcard, and then Cafe Dostoyevsky for Okami. Let's talk about Consulate first. What can we come to expect there? How are Wildcard shaping up for that one?
They've been playing pretty well on Consulate this season. In fact, I put it down as one of their stronger maps. Okami are also relatively good on Consulate, but they've had some mixed results. I think Consulate is still a strong map for Okami, and the fact that they have seen a bit of Wildcard on it will be interesting, and the fact that Wildcard chose it, I think that's maybe going to be a tough map for them.
I'm really excited for Cafe. This is something we talked about pre-broadcast. It's a map that Wildcard themselves, despite having good form heading into Six Masters, haven't really played it at all throughout the entire season. So there's a big question mark on whether or not they'll be able to replicate that past form. Okami, on the other hand, though, they've won, I believe, at 100% win rate in their last 3 attempts. So they're looking pretty good coming into this one.
Yeah, they've played a lot of Cafe, and they have not lost it yet so far this season. They've had some tight matches. I mean, they only beat Kanga on it 8-6 all the way back in week 1 as well. I've got a feeling, though, this is a bit of a, I wouldn't say a bait from Wildcard, but I don't think it's that they're not good at Cafe. In fact, I think they're quite a good team at Cafe. That's why no team has really picked it against them. So I think it's pretty brave from Okami to pick it, and now I'm a little worried for them going into map 2.
And I mean, it's a classic tale of Okami not having a lot of intel going into this, because the last time that Wildcard actually played Cafe was way back when in Pro League Season 11. It was against Elevate. That was a long time ago. And before that, it was the likes of Na'Vi, Fury, Kanga. And this is going way back when they had an older roster and were looking completely different to how they are now. So big question marks over their heads at the moment.
Yeah, and you brought up that Elevate game in Pro League Season 11. They actually ended up winning that in quite strong fashion. And as you said, that was the last time we saw it. You'd only think that they've worked on it and maybe refined it from that point onwards. And the fact they've managed to get this deep in Six Masters without playing it, I'm quite surprised about. And it makes me super excited for map 2.
Well, I mean, if you had to pick a result heading into this, I'm not sure what you predicted for Snowball Esports, but I'm thinking it's probably going to be a pretty close match, right? Both these teams looking pretty strong. Okami have, though, had their ups and downs, as you've mentioned. A lot of those wins have been close, and I think if there's one team that's going to capitalize on any mistakes, it's going to be Wildcard. So if Okami do let it slip a little bit, they need to be mindful that they don't let it go all the way in favor of Wildcard, or it will prove costly.
Yeah, so my predictions, I've gone for Wildcard getting both of these maps, and there's a lot of reasons besides the fact that they are just playing really well at the moment. But I think such a structured, well adaptive style team from Wildcard, I think that really counters the way that Okami play, who can often present certain patterns. So I just really think Wildcard are gonna have their number, and seeing the map veto kind of fills me with more confidence in my predictions.
All right, well, Raven's confident. Let's see what you folks at home think heading into this matchup. And they will back you, Wildcard, with a very hefty lead, 62%, thinking that they'll take this one. And I mean, I voted for the draw, so I'm in the minority, but hey, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, draw is always kind of like that. And look, it's not that Okami don't have it in them. There's every chance that they can create an upset or a surprise here in either of these maps. So we won't know, but I just think with Wildcard's season so far, it has been just so great from them. It's going to be really tough for Okami, and Wildcard are 100% going to be wanting to secure that top seed.
And I think the thing for me heading into this matchup is we need to see some of these players step up, right? Okami, Ippy style for their team has been absolutely popping off. There was, in my mind, I was thinking maybe he was being a little bit hesitant or a little bit underperforming against Elevate the other night. But then he hit a 1v3 clutch and was just unstoppable. So if he can replicate that tonight, that's going to be really, really dangerous for Wildcard to try and shut down. But again, we can't count them off. I mean, Ethan has been popping off as well. So if both those players come into tonight with great form, it's going to be really hard to separate them.
Yeah, it's going to come down to, of course, the teamwork, right? Who is going to be putting in the best teamwork? It's not going to be on one player's shoulders. It can't all be Ethan. It can't all be Ippy style. It's about working as a team and working cohesively. And especially when you're talking about beating Wildcard, that is exactly what you need. You need to be working as a cohesive, synergized team.
Well, I mean, yeah, Wildcard, especially on their attacks, are incredibly potent. They're a team that takes a long time to build up. And then in that last 30 seconds, they can catch any team off guard. They do it time and time and time again. And if Okami don't read into that and aren't able to shut down those executes, they're going to find themselves in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, Wildcard, on both ends of the scale, are a tough team to deal with. They are also a very patient, disciplined team. You talk about their support players. Diesel is definitely a highlight on Wildcard in terms of support. He is very patient and also knows when to turn the aggression on. And that can be really tricky to deal with. Again, it requires that tight teamwork, good communication, drone skills, for example, or, intel management. And Okami just have to be perfect in order to be able to get at least one of these maps tonight.
And I think aggression definitely is going to be a big factor in how this game plays out, because on some occasions, Okami can be the team that no matter what will play super aggressive, not always to success, but they're not afraid to back themselves. And again, linking back to players like Ippy Style and even some of the other top performers, Mangoes comes to mind, even Cutie on that more supportive role. When they need to, they will step up, play aggressive, and if Wildcard aren't able to tame that, then they themselves might find a little bit of trouble coming their way.
And that's the thing, you want to be playing to your strength, and Okami's strength is a bit of that aggression. Their attack, we've talked about quite a lot, is it relentless was the word I used the other night. It is quite relentless. It's aggressive. It comes at you when you're not expecting it, and it seems to work against a lot of good teams. So that is something that Wildcard will have to be on notice about.
Yeah, well, of course, we know the map pool. What can we sort of expect heading into this first one? How do you think that aggressive player style is actually going to play out on this style of map?
Yeah, I'd expect that Wildcard will probably ban operator like Valkyrie, because that really facilitates some of the aggressive play, runouts, flanks, that kind of thing. Maybe even a pulse, just some kind of intel denial will probably be the most important thing for Wildcard to take away. Okami, on the other hand, they might look at banning maybe a Nomad, so they can facilitate easier runouts or easier flanks.
And I mean, obviously, console being the map, Wildcard have really recent form going into that, right? Because Okami literally just played Elevate on it, as I mentioned earlier. They only won 8-6, and that was off the back of a pretty big comeback. Remember, Elevate were on match point for quite some time there. Okami managed to bring it back. Ippy Style activated, as I mentioned. So, I mean, Wildcard have a lot to go off. I'm sure they were watching that game. They have some things in the back of their mind that they'll be taking into tonight's match.
Yeah, that almost was Elevate's victory. I mean, they were on 6-5 match point, and it was a post-play situation. I think you talked about it. Ippy Style getting a 1v3 clutch. So it was really close. It could have gone the other way, and they weren't really convincing on that map. It took them a long time to wake up. We saw a really big attacker-sided affair. And maybe we'll see the same tonight. I'm still not convinced exactly how they're going to go on it. Maybe that's why Wildcard have gone with this decision. They've identified that weakness and they feel like they can exploit it.
Yeah, I really like the fact that you brought up how attacker-sided it was. So often, the general public even can complain that the game is too defender-sided, but it was literally the absolute complete opposite. I think in that match, how many rounds were won? I think it might have been like 2 or 3 over the course of like 14 rounds, I think.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 defense wins in regulation, so both halves were
Yeah.
5-1, and then I think the 2 overtime rounds ended up being defense wins or something. I don't 100% remember the overtime, but there were very few defense wins on that night, and that was quite the surprise.
And I mean, the way that, as we mentioned earlier, Okami and Wildcard like to bring that sort of late round aggression on their attacks, that could prove pretty potent. I mean, Consulate is a map that really sort of favors that playstyle. Cafe, maybe not quite as much. That takes a little bit more prep work, especially in clearing utility. But if I'm defending, I'm going to be a little bit scared facing these teams because of just how aggressive they can be in that late round stage.
Yeah, and that's not to say Wildcard can also be quite aggressive in their own right. I mean, Ethan's also keen to go out for a few runouts. Pat can have some really interesting little ways of getting his entry picks, and he's had some really big games for Wildcard. So both teams can bring it out, and that is a great way to be able to counter it, is to also be aggressive, because sometimes if you just sit back and hold an angle, yeah, crossfires work somewhat well against aggression, but if it's just constantly thrown at you and it's quite relentless, yeah, I think countering that with extra aggression usually works out well.
Well, you mentioned Pat there. Obviously, he previously played for Kanga and then slotted into this roster, the wildcard roster, when they made some of these changes. Back when he played for Kanga, he was renowned for being a really strong presence on the team in terms of comming and coming up with strategies, etc. How do you think he's sort of slotted into this wildcard roster? You mentioned he's been playing pretty well, and I tend to agree. He's definitely a player that Wildcard can sort of fall back on and trust, especially sort of in these more clutch scenarios.
I think a big strength of Pat, and the reason, or one of the reasons that Wildcard ended up picking him up, was, yeah, he added that extra vocal kind of player, somebody else that can IGL, because previously I believe a lot of it was really on Ethan and Diesel. And so having that extra mind communicating and thinking about how to structure things can free up those other IGLs or the other communicative players to be able to make plays. And that's really what we have seen from Ethan in Six Masters.
Well, let's conceal it. It's the first map of the evening. Okami taking on Wildcard. This is the battle for potentially first place in the Six Masters season. This is going to be a banger.
It is, and I am super excited to be getting stuck into this. And we talked about the ban phase a little bit just before in the pre-show, really thinking that it's going to be all about either harming or aiding these runouts and maybe the aggressive playstyle. It is going to be Okami on the first ban, actually taking off the Maverick. So normally you would ban a hard breacher on Consulate, or could ban a hard breacher on Consulate. It does make, especially the garage attacks, a bit more tricky. So Maverick is going to make that even trickier because he really is the comfortable attacker to use to open that garage.
Thatcher will be followed up there. A pretty common ban in the current ANZ meta will make some of that util clearing a little bit tougher. And Jaeger as well will be off the board, not on the board. Will be on the bans. That was terrible wording. What a great way to start things off. But obviously Jaeger taken out, and that will make some of that denial of projectiles a little bit tougher on the defense.
I think that's also just more a target ban on Ippy style, because he just hard locks Jaeger on Consulate, and so now he's going to have to think about playing a different role on the defense here. And the trade-off with that is, yeah, projectiles are going to be coming in. You're going to have Wamai probably in a really high pick rate now in this match because he's the only other counter to things like grenades.
Yeah, well, I mean, you mentioned trying to make Ippy style feel a little bit more uncomfortable, and that may well be the play. He's stood out as one of the top fraggers across the entire season. So it will be interesting to see who he jumps onto. It looks like it will be Mozzie on this occasion. Again, another operator that can frag out and deny some of that utility alongside the mute. And of course, with Thatcher taken out, that could prove to be a little bit of a headache here for Wildcard.
Then Ippy go onto the Mozzie, and that means comboing with the mute. It's going to be a lot of intel denial, which is going to be a great counter to Wildcard because they are a very proficient team with their drones, and they follow them beautifully, and that's enabling their entries, enables them to be able to set up really precise attacks. So I think this Mute Mozzie combo, especially on Consulate, is going to be a really strong one to be leaning on in these defenses.
Of course, if you are just joining us, both these teams have the potential to finish first here in the 6th Masters season. Okami, they're looking for the 2-0, trying to take both maps this evening. Wildcard looking to take at least one. If it does end in a draw, there is potential for Okami to finish second above Team Sinister. So I'm assuming Sinister are probably barracking a little bit here for Wildcard. Because again, the higher you finish, in theory, the better seeding you'll have in the playoffs, which could prove critical.
That being said, though, usually, depending on how seeding goes, but usually you'd have second versus third if it's top 4. So either way, it's likely would be Okami and Sinister to be playing off in that first round, depending on the finishing. But yeah, see, it looks like a pretty heavy attack here towards Console. Wildcard gonna need to be clearing out this yellow stairs, which Mangoes is playing on as the smoke. Very, very strong position to be playing as this SAS operator, using those gas canisters to deny entry up the stairs. And actually, that Jaeger band is gonna make this a little bit easier and probably a little more efficient.
Definitely will for the attackers. Wildcard will be looking to try and exploit that. For the meantime, though, Mango is quite content in holding that position. Of course, he's sitting in the blind spot of all of these windows and cannot be shot. Wildcard will be forced to use utility, and as Ethan tries to gather more intel, his first drone will be taken out. Again, they're being a little bit stalled out here, but don't be alarmed. This is Wildcard's playstyle, ladies and gentlemen. They like to take their time.
Goes getting concussed. A little bit of pressure there, but no one really following it up. He is going to get tagged from the roof, though. That's Pat on the pick. Joker was also tagged up earlier in an engagement, but Cutie's been able to stim him up. They are at a man disadvantage coming in the second half of the round. Joker's just going to peek that, though. That's probably not the play. Pat is on point getting that one, which means that Wildcard are sitting pretty coming into the final minute of the round.
Wildcard are renowned for their late round executes, and it's looking like this one won't take very long at all. Ethan gets one, he's going for the wall bang and gets the second, and now Cutie is left in a 1-on-5. This round surely is not salvageable, and Wildcard should take the early lead. Cutie misses those shots. Diesel will stick the plant. The Doc does find one, but can't find the second, and Wildcard will start off with the very first round win.
Quite a strong round win at that. I think Okami just maybe getting a little too antsy, trying to peek up that skylight was probably not a great decision. And also there was no real cover or nothing to facilitate Mangoes being able to rotate out of yellow. It was basically just going to be a 50-50 chance if he got out alive. So well played by Wildcard to be disciplined and patient. They just waited for Okami to make those mistakes, and then it allowed Ethan to get aggressive up yellow and was basically over once he had that control.
Signs of over-aggression for Okami early here on Consulate. They need as much manpower late round as possible, particularly if Wildcard keep all their players alive. They are just so potent late round. And any early picks that Okami give is only going to exemplify that fact. So expect them this round to wind back on that aggression a little bit. Try not to give free picks.
Rotating to Garage, definitely going to be a different beast here. Wildcard are sticking with a consistent lineup. This is something that they do a lot of as well. They don't usually play the game of trying to guess which operators are going to be chosen on the defense or which side they're going to be and what they need to then adapt to. They often just decide on a set 5 and it works for everything. And that's something you can really do a lot of on Consulate as well. That means they don't have to worry about where Okami's going. They can just bring these operators in there, equipped and ready to deal with it.
Not sure what Jack Daddy rather, is trying to do here exactly. Not very happy with where the claw is placed. He has repositioned it now. Trying to make it, I assume, difficult to shoot from above. That one will be placed down, and that will be the entire garage, I believe, electrified, or at least the left and right panels. Diesel already there, ready and waiting to try and blow at it. Pat on the IQ will surely be spotting out these claws, pinging them for his team. Wildcard will be looking to try and deal with these nice and quickly.
It's going to take the time and be ready to set this up as well. It looks like they're going to use an explosive just to be able to blow up that electric claw, and it works out beautifully there. And they're going to get that left side relatively easily, to be honest. They didn't need to take any map control. They didn't need to repel onto piano windows. Diesel just misses those shots towards pipes there. Wildcard are already starting to get some great control, and Okami are going to have to be wary about such control so early in the round.
This is a stage of the round where Wildcard gather as much intel as possible to try and make a calculated push in on towards side, and these drones are already providing a lot of that with still half the round to go. Ethan trying to flash out the pipes position, which was previously drone. Grenade does follow up. This could be potentially big. Doesn't find its mark though. Okami really is holding on for dear life at the moment.
They're trying to fire back. They're trying to put some bullets in towards Wildcard, but they're still holding fast and holding these positions. Another ill-advised aggressive prone peek from Ippy style spotted earlier from Diesel, capitalized on. Wildcard again, they still have so much time ahead of them, and they're using these drones very effectively, getting this information. And they're not overextending. They're not trying to force any kind of map control. They're just really pushing this garage and yellow stairs.
4 members from Wildcard outside the breach. Flashes do come out and Mangoes gets aggressive on the shotgun, but Wildcard again will wait. That's the final of Mango's gas grenade, so he has no more left in the pocket, and I'm sure once this one dissipates, Wildcard will start to get aggressive. But again, they're waiting so patiently.
They're just really trying to work this pick first. They are going to go in aggressively to get it. It's refragged though by Jack Dad at the back of White. 20 seconds to go. They are going to have to get in and get this plant down 3 versus 3, and it is down. I thought Okami for sure were going to be able to deny that, but not to be. Hard retake ahead of them, guys.
Basically impossible here for Cutie with that breach opened. Wildcard sitting so far away, and with the SMG, there's surely nothing he can do now. Time running low as well, and Okami letting that diffuser go down so easily will prove costly, and Wildcard will take 2 in a row.
Another really great methodical attack from Wildcard. It was quite precise. They just scanned out those electric claws. They figured they can clear one easy enough with just a grenade. And once they did that, they never had to take control of piano. They just worked side, just slowly got that information, waited for the picks to come off from Okami, and when they were ready, just aggressed. And managing to get that plant down, I was quite surprised. I thought there was some denial potential there from Okami, but not to be.
It really does feel as if Wildcard at the moment are only exacerbating some of Okami's problems. One of those being their over-aggressive playstyle. They were trying to prevent Wildcard from getting in towards the site early in the round, but a couple of ill-advised picks didn't help their cause, and one of those was Ippy style. He was playing this pipes position, and that prone peak was quite strange indeed, and did cost him his life, so maybe feeling a little bit uncomfortable on that Lamai, of course. Jaeger was taken off the board by Wildcard, and we hypothesized that maybe that was a targeted ban towards Ippy style, and I mean, so far it's working. He has been shut down and hasn't had much of an impact.
Could be right, but guys, Ethan 6-picked onto Finka. He's got the LMG. I'm really curious about what Wildcard are thinking here, whether maybe we might see a swifter attack in the boosters to facilitate that. Really haven't seen them lean on or choose a Finka much, if at all, to be honest. So I'm a bit excited to see how this plays out.
We have seen Finka on occasion here in APAC. Fnatic was one of those teams. I believe, were they versing CAG? I believe it was way back when, and was on this map. I think it was them, and that was really crazy to watch. I think our LMG can definitely get to work. Maybe Ethan will save it for later in the round, because it doesn't really look like it's a rush strat as of yet. They could potentially open the breach and rush through it, but I'm not sure that'll be the play. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, he does have nades, so maybe they felt that this would be a better use of the grenades instead of Imo Rins. Either way, it's facilitated them beautifully again within the first minute to get that wall open with very little exposure to Okami. And that's really important because normally a really easy way, or the way that people will try and counter that wall or the wall denial, is they'll take piano control, they'll repel on the piano windows, and of course that carries quite a lot of risk with it.
Again, feeling a little bit like deja vu at the moment. Both teams playing pretty similar positions. If Style gets flashed on site, doesn't look like he's going to go for a prone pick on this occasion. Of course, it did cost him his life last round. Boost will go out. Not quite sure why. Wildcard haven't pushed in on that, so maybe a potential waste.
Have Evil Eyes to worry about now as well, which is some good adaptation there from Okami. It does mean that they will get a little bit more persistent intel. Joker is the one on that Maestro. And Wildcard just playing it patient, collecting his intel, waiting for Okami to make some potential mistakes here. Ibistyle is still on site, which is a little bit uncharacteristic for him. We really saw, especially against Elevate, he was all over the map when he was playing as that Jaeger, rotating constantly, trying to be a bit of a pest. I think he has really been taken away from his element.
Wildcard don't really have any control above, and Okami could abuse that. It looks like Pat may try and solo entry this above, or at least gather some intel. Geo will follow up on that, in fact, and maybe push through Piano. There's a player inside of Bathroom and a player inside of Ante, and they could well try and pinch this. But with only 30 seconds on the board, they need to try and find these picks early. Pat will be taken down from Circle, and that really puts the pressure back on Wildcard. Ethan will get one in return, though. The flank from Geo proves successful and well. And here we go. The explosivity on the site will pay off. Now, Ibistyle is left to try and clutch this one up. He's over towards Pipes, but he will be shut down, and Wildcard will take 3 straight.
I was a little worried when Pat was the solo pusher, so to speak, into lobby, but it did end up being refragged by Geo. And then we didn't see what happened in Garage, but it looked like it worked out pretty well. They got about 3 unanswered kills. So Wildcard, again, looking really strong on these attacks so far on Consulate. We talked a little bit about it looking attacker-sided just the other night on Tuesday. And here we are again, 3 rounds in a row to the attack.
And this is something we don't see often. Okami are going to re-attempt Cafeteria and Garage, that bottom bomb site, for the 3rd time straight. Often in comp, if you lose it twice, it's time to move on. But Okami backing themselves here, and I mean, if they pull it off, it might feel nice, but I'm assuming if they lose this round, that's going to be incredibly demoralizing.
Yeah, it really is a rare occurrence when you see teams choose a site 3 times in a row. I mean, twice you can excuse, maybe you think that you've got a good counter to what's going wrong. But 3 times in a row is quite the rarity. I mean, the last time I can think of that a team kept choosing a site they lost was, again, going back to an APAC LAN final. It was CAG against Wildcard on Bank. I think they played that bottom 4 bomb site like 3 or 4 rounds in a row, and they just lost it every time.
10 seconds remaining.
So we'll see whether it works out for Okami in this instance.
5
Wildcard are in
seconds left.
quite the groove of attacking Garage right now.
Attackers objective
And I mean, we
is to
did
locate a bomb
see Okami in that previous round try to create an adaptation. They had those 2 players above, but Wildcard, they were clued in on that. And despite Pat falling, Jerry was able to refrag them both, denying any sort of vertical control here. Looks like we might see something similar with Cutie on this occasion. Of course, they did bring Mirror on the last round, electing not to pick that once again. It'll be intriguing to see how Wildcard mix this up, and so far, Raven, it's looking like it's a top-down sweep.
Just real quick on Okami too. I think a mistake that they've made with their operator pick is not bringing Mute, or Mute Mozzie, or at least Mute, because Mute is really strong for defending Garage. There are those really good jammer placements that go up through the floor to make it hard to drone out lobby, chamber, bathroom, piano. And that's something that really would counter Wildcard because they are just so good with their drones. We've seen it in the last 3 rounds. They're getting so much intel so cleanly. Expecting that would be a really good counter for Okami.
Well, I mean, you can see that already. Look how much control Wildcard have above site. Yes, Cutie's inside of bathroom, but I mean, all of the key positions above are basically covered already by Wildcard, and they still have half the round to work with. Cutie has some nice intel here, and maybe that could... No, that won't work because Pat will just come to the main door and take it out. So Pat so far has been extremely proficient in taking out some of this defender utility, and it is definitely hurting Okami, who are forced back to side already.
Yeah, and that's another side effect of having Jaegerband. Normally you would have ADSs placed in that bathroom, so you could hold that with Day's End, but you can't right now. You have to be able to drop out. Cutie recognizing that it was the sledge opening that hole, Fragnade's potentially inbound, and now with that Thermite breach opening up there with the exothermic charge, it means they have direct access to hatch, deep angle into sight at that. Just this map control and the way that Wildcard are doing it with such progress is really good to see.
Yellow stairs control given to Ethan. Jack Daddy needs to be mindful that his head doesn't get taken off, and it is from Checkers. Now it's a 5-on-4 in favor of Wildcard as they again will drone in towards side, and due to the angles created above, it's basically impossible for Okami to sit in that bomb site. All this vertical presence from Wildcard should help them in getting this plan down, and again, Okami are on the back foot.
They really are. Like, there's no reason that this wouldn't be a secured plant, especially now that Diesel gets a shot onto Mangoes with 15 seconds. Plant is going down. It is just so perfectly covered from above. The Yokai now taken out. We know that's both of them. Diesel will be able to stick this. Ipisal has something to say about it. It's going to be a 2 versus 4 in this post plant. It's going to be a real tough retake again for Okami, especially when it's all up to Joker.
Basically impossible. Both players outside. Players above as well from Wildcard, and Joker is left to just frantically run around the site. There is some intel on his Evil Eyes, but it's not going to be enough. He will be shot in the back by Diesel, and Wildcard will take 4 rounds straight, and it is looking dire for Okami.
Yeah, we spotlighted. They chose Garage 3 rounds in a row. And I don't think any single one of those rounds it's looked that much better. There's some real critical issues with that, and thankfully they are not going to be going there again, guys. They're going to rotate through to lobby, which we have not yet seen them play. So hopefully they can spark some kind of momentum change on this round.
Of course, it is important to keep in mind that both of these teams have qualified for the playoffs. They will both be inside the top 4, but they are fighting for that first position. And if Okami drop a map here, particularly with this sort of margin, it's going to be incredibly difficult for them to go up in the standings.
Defenders
I
protect
mean, we
your
talked about
bombs
this a little
from
bit earlier.
by
Sinister,
attack.
of course, in that second position heading into tonight, they could fall down depending on Okami's performance. And when you flag that, maybe the seeding won't have a big impact. I'm wondering how Sinister are feeling at the moment. Who are they wanting? Do they want to maybe take on Wildcard, or will they be more comfortable against Okami?
That's a good point. I mean, they actually had a pretty good series way back at the start of Six Masters against Wildcard. Just looking at the scores here, they lost 7-4 to Wildcard on Club, and they lost 7-5 on Theme Park. And that's pretty close. Like, that's more than what a lot of teams can say their efforts were in Six Masters.
5 seconds
So
remaining.
it's not like that would be difficult, but I would feel like going into it, Sinister could
Locate and
see
defuse
probably
the
more
bomb.
weaknesses on the Okami side, and I also feel like that is probably their more likely opponent to be up against.
Okami, keep in mind they are defending lobby here in the 5th round, but there are a lot of players above.
A bomb has been
Expect
located.
Wildcard to try and clear those positions out. Expecting them to probably shape up for yet another plan. I mean, in the 4 rounds so far, 3 of them have seen that diffuser be successfully planted. And I mean, in the current meta, we don't see a whole lot of plants. Wildcard are definitely putting effort and emphasis on being able to cover that planter.
Again, I did see a peek at the scoreboard there. 4 rounds in, Diesel hasn't actually died. I think that's a huge emphasis on just how thorough Wildcard's been. Playing that hard breach role, you usually are the last one in, the planter, last one in, but he hasn't been denied planting. He hasn't really been in a gunfight that hasn't been comfortable for him to take. He's got 6 kills on top of it. So I think that really says a lot about exactly how these attacks are playing out for Wildcard.
Bomb
I mean,
located
Ethan
by
as well, he's
attackers.
been put on the ash. He's absolutely going off himself. 8-1 thus far. That is a very scary prospect for Okami. Time and time again, he has been playing strong in this season, and tonight so far has been no exception. Does look like Wildcard are taking their time quite a bit here, trying to gain this above control. Emo narrowly missing that wall bang as they
Device in
start to get a
position.
little bit more aggressive.
I mean, definitely important for Wildcard to be able to get this vertical control. Pat will take out Q, though. That's the Goyo off the board. Taking a couple of minutes for that first engagement to come out, but it again has been on the side of Wildcard. Just able to push through and get what they need and just wait for Okami to walk into position. Dragged out. Ipistyle's trying to play aggressive here in Connector,
Attackers
trying to
dropping
make
diffuser.
something happen to push Wildcard back and prevent them
Attackers
from
have
taking this
recovered their
meeting
diffuser.
control.
Ipistyle needs to go big here to give his team a chance. Again, it's been a little bit of a quiet map for him so far, but if he activates, they might be able to get a couple of rounds to end out the half. Playing a very dominant position inside of Con, and we'll find one. That, of course, was Diesel on the Thermite. As Emo Rim will attempt the plant. Surely Wildcard can't get yet another one down. Pat in a perfect position to deny
Attackers
the
are
wide
activating
swing,
the diffuser.
but it won't even come out. Pat will cover it successfully, and now it's post-plant here for Okami.
Defenders have located the diffuser.
This is another tough post-plant situation, but now Okami have man advantage. Might be a little bit easier. Joker with an aggressive run out. This might be doable here, guys. 3 versus 1 now, all up to Ethan to save the round for Wildcard. He hasn't quite got the holes onto the diffuser either. C4 missing the mark. He's only got 2 to worry about. Mangoes and Jack Dead very much aware that he is above. Might be looking for the Maestro meat shield here. He's going to be able to deny that though. 1 versus 1. He's on the triple. It's going to be a 4K. Almost not enough time. Ethan's going to be able to just peek down to this and deny, but... Oh, he got it just.
Oh my, that was so close, Ethan. Oh my.
Okay. Just giving us a little heart attack, but that's okay.
Oh, jeez. Look, I'll be honest, I wasn't looking at the diffuser timer very contently there, but I know that when Mango decided to stick that, there was around 8.5, 9 seconds left.
Yeah.
So that must have been incredibly close for him not to stick that. But well played by Ethan. I think he's on, like, what, 11-1 now. The man just cannot be stopped. And 5 rounds straight. Again, we have seen attacker-sided consulate games. I mean, the last time Okami played against Elevate, that was the case. But I mean, it's really hard seeing Okami coming back from this one. They're just being stomped at the moment.
That's actually a pretty accurate description. That being said, I mean, credit to Okami. That retake was a great effort. By all means, I mean, Ethan just happened to be the player in probably the best position in the end. And that was tough to flush out. Nobody was flanking to really disturb the peace for him up there. So he was able just to play that, use those holds, and play potentially some intel from his teammates. So really well played from Ethan, but that retake was a great attempt. Nonetheless, Wildcard are looking dominant on these attacks. Just the way they were able to get in and get that plant down. It's looking clean and precise.
10 seconds
I
left.
apologize, Ethan actually on 12 kills so far, so going even
5
stronger
seconds to insertion.
than I thought. The question now
Attackers
for
must
Okami is how do they shut this man down? 5 rounds in and he's only died 1 time. What a great strike rate here for the defenders. Definitely a little bit concerned.
Well, when Wildcard played this against Ferox earlier in the season, they won it 8-7. That was Ethan's personal best. He got 23 kills on that occasion. And you'd have to say right now he's on track for that, but their dominance might end his chances if they get 2
It's gonna be
rounds.
too
He's
short.
really got no chance of getting 23 kills.
Scanning for electronics.
A bomb has been located.
Look, I don't think Ethan will be too phased. If they get a quick map win here, I'm sure he'll be happy to forego any sort of record. Let's get 3 points on the board. He's hunting at the moment for a player on yellow. Again, Mango's playing that position. He was taken down from above by Pat last time he held this spot, and Joker on the repeak was also taken out. And talking about Joker, he will be lit up. This position so critical for both teams. The question is who will end out on top.
Going flashbang.
Not to pick on Ibtisal too much here, but I'm just finding it a really curious thing to watch all the different operators that he's now playing because of the Jaeger ban. He's been on Mozzie, he's now on Maestro. Definitely all these operators we haven't really seen him play. I can't even remember the last time I saw him play some of these operators. So he hasn't been able to find that comfort. I mean, he did pick up a couple of kills, and of course his team is falling apart around him. That is Mangoes being the first off, which is not great, being the smoke, and also such a critical spot. Yellow Stairs is now in control of Wildcard.
I definitely agree that Ibtisal might be feeling a little bit uncomfortable at the moment. So far, it's been a great ban by Wildcard to take Jaeger off the board as they try and progress now up Yellow Stairs, try and convert some of this control in towards the front desk. That shield to the right of this doorway is posing a problem, but Diesel will find Jack Dad, and again Wildcard with the heavy man advantage with plenty of time left in this round.
Got some good control in these windows. The plant feels like it could be imminent here. Man advantage as well means that it shouldn't be
Attackers have
too
located
tricky
a
for
bomb.
Wildcard to be able to hold this off. Still in a good position is Joker to be able to swing out and deny even Ethan's progression here. He's got that shield to his advantage. Ethan's struggling to get shots off, and 15 seconds to go, guys. This plant has to go down.
Not a lot of time here for Wildcard. They may well go for frags. Ibtisal's low on HP and will be taken down. It's Kuti now left in a 1-on-4. He has the shield to work with. How many can he find? I don't think he finds anyone. In fact, he did find Emo in, but it doesn't matter. And Wildcard will have a flawless half hit on Consulate.
Flawless is a great way to describe it, because really, besides the great retake attempt in the previous round, none of those rounds at all looked like they were going to be going Akami's way. Wildcard just absolutely had their way with those attacks, and now they just need one round, guys, to be able to close out this map.
I mean, we have seen teams at Six Masters struggle to convert match points. But I mean, this one's probably looking the most convincing of them all so far. It's been a pretty flawless 6 rounds throughout. None of them really looking convincing for Okami. I mean, maybe the 5th round in lobby was when Ethan clutched up the 1v3, but outside of that, it has been quite the dominant performance here from Wildcard.
Attackers
Man,
need to
if I am
locate
one
and
of the teams
defuse the bomb.
facing them in the playoffs, I'd be a little bit scared because Okami are really struggling to do any sort of damage on them.
This was Wildcard's pick, so they have clearly identified something here that they knew was going to work out well against Okami. And I mean, we've been saying things about Ibtisal's defense. He's actually ended up getting the most kills from his team. Mangoes didn't find one, in fact, in that entire half. So just the whole team really struggling to be able to step up and get anything done against Wildcard. I really just think this map pick has been a great counter, and the bans as well have just been a great counter, and a real show of what Wildcard can do in preparation for their matches.
Camera ready to activate. Heartbeat sensor deployed.
And I mean, if you want to look back at the last time these teams played, of course, with slightly different rosters, it was actually a draw, 6 apiece in Pro League. It was just under 3 months ago. Time definitely flies. I think it's a testament to how well this sort of reborn Wildcard roster is looking. These changes are really starting to look good. Wildcard, so far this evening, are really proving a point that they should be the #1 team heading into these playoffs.
I think Overwatch.
I think even coming into this series, like we talked about in pre-show, the way that they have played in Six Masters, I think never really casted doubt on the fact that maybe they should be the top team. I think they've generally shown that they are a force to be reckoned with against strong teams and some of these other teams in Six Masters. LFO were the only ones to be able to get on top of them, and that was a pretty close map in itself. The Wildcard really could have been looking at an undefeated season here.
Flashbang out.
Getting close to the halfway point in this round. No real damage inflicted on either team. It's that wild card
Attackers
playing quite
dropped the
passively
diffuser.
at the moment. No one over peaking or being as aggressive as we saw from Okami in some of their early rounds. Diesel's in a very, very compromised position at the moment. That table's been blown out and he's forced to get aggressive. He dodges that first flash. We'll get aggressive on the second. It is now white as Jack Daddy will be taken down by
Bomb
Geo.
located by attackers.
But this balcony will be critical. That's where the diffuser is positioned. If Diesel can find this pick or even the one on the stairs, he will be going big this round, but he can't quite get the second. The trade comes out.
Attackers
Just like that,
recovered the
wild card will
diffuser.
find themselves at the man advantage.
Deploying magnet.
Being it all on QD and Ippy be able to close this round for Okami and keep them in the map. Right now, it's Ippy with Diffuser. He's going to start trying to stick it down. It's up to QD to be able to cover this cross here in long. There is a C4 below from Ethan. Plant didn't get stuck in the end, guys. Might not have been a helpful thing. Ethan sees one through the rafters. Doesn't quite get it, but 30 seconds to go. Okami, they are struggling to get this down.
Heartbeat sensor deployed.
Judy needs to find 3 to keep his team's chances alive here on Consulate.
Attackers have
15
recovered their
seconds
diffuser.
left on the board. Diffuser
15
collected inside of
seconds to go.
Con. But Ethan, he's below with the pulse, and surely this plant
10
will
seconds
not
to
go
go.
down. The intel is there. The C4 will follow, and Wildcard will take Consulate 7-zip.
Oh boy, that never looked in doubt. They continued with strength after strength on those attacks. And defense, well, we only got to see one round, but looked pretty good to me.
Yeah, I mean, that may well be one of, if not the fastest maps we've ever seen in the entire season. And we slated this as being incredibly close, right? Both these teams fighting it out for the #1 position, but quite clearly Wildcard was dominant here on the first map.
They really were, and there's no other way to describe it. The scoreline perfectly reflects it. It wasn't one of those matches where it was a lot of close rounds and, oh, it could have been a little bit different there. No, absolutely no. It was a 7-0 to the core.
Of course, that was Wildcard's map pick, right? And heading into the second, we will have Cafe. But as we mentioned earlier, there's not a whole lot of intel for Wildcard, or for Okami to use on Wildcard, rather. Because Wildcard just haven't played it. So they may be even more dominant here on Cafe. Who knows what they've been working on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I am really curious about how this second map is going to play out. We haven't seen much from Wildcard on it. And that being said, I was so sure that they are actually not that bad at Cafe. So I think they might have some surprises in store for Okami. As Okami probably have some surprises as well. It was their pick for a reason. But after what we saw in Consulate, I am still very concerned for Okami.
Well, I mean, I hope the second map is close. I was expecting Okami to bring something to the table, but it just felt like every time they tried to innovate, every time they tried to change something up, Wildcard, in classic Wildcard fashion, really were able to adapt so quickly and efficiently, and Okami would just shut down pretty much every facet of the game.
They really were. Just counters everywhere from Okami. And also I just think there was some struggles with adaptation from Okami. I highlighted there was one round when they were repeating Garage constantly. They just weren't bringing anything to deny intel gathering, which was just such a strength from Wildcard to facilitate how those attacks were playing out.
Well, we do have Cafe on the other side of the break. Can Okami bounce back? We'll see shortly. We'll see that.
Attackers are active. Seconds remaining.
Please hold. Your call is very important to us. All operators are busy at this time.
Look into your eyes, I see the colors of your soul, and I recognize every single line, every single roadblock. We are two hearts that beat in time, and the tide was looking down all night, blocking out the sun that we need. Maybe we can change our stripes and colors. You're the only one I see. And I take it all or nothing at all. Driving through the night till I'm at your door. Go outside, stay up all night. And I take it all or nothing at all. Driving through the night till I'm at your door. Go outside, stay up all night. Sleep through the sunrise. Look into my past and I count the numbers of the dreams that I left behind. I don't even care now that I've discovered a new kind of peace of mind. Up above us, looking down on us, there's an angel I know. We don't need to worry or discuss much. It's time for me to hit the road. Take it all or nothing at all. Driving through the night till I'm at your door. Go outside, stay up all night. Sleep through the sunrise. And I take it all or nothing at all. Driving through the night till I'm at your door. Go outside, stay up all night. And I take it all or nothing at all. Driving through the night till I'm at your door. Go outside, stay up all night. Sleep through the sunrise.
Welcome back from the break, and once again we saw a flawless map win from Wildcard. On this occasion it was a 7-0 against Okami on Consulate, but now it's time for map number 2, Raven, and it will be Cafe, which hopefully will produce a slightly closer result.
Hopefully it will. I'm still a little concerned for Okami because, yeah, it's a bit of a unknown on exactly how Wildcard are at with their form on Cafe at the moment. We haven't seen them play it at all in 6 Masters. Previously, they've had some pretty strong performances on it, so hopefully Okami do have some big tricks up their sleeves.
I made me reference this earlier, the fact that Wildcard haven't played officials on Cafe recently. That doesn't mean that they haven't been practicing it or stratting it, dry running it, etc. So we could see Wildcard coming out of the gate with some pretty strong strats, although keep in mind they might be banking some stuff for the playoffs as well. So I'm not expecting them to reveal all their tricks in this match.
Yeah, and that's a thing to point out. These teams are both very much aware, or they know, they are in playoffs now. So they're going to be thinking ahead to their playoffs matches. That being said, I think Okami are probably going to be coming out strong on Cafe. It's just a matter of how Wildcard adapt, which is a strength of theirs. They are such a good team at adapting to their opponents.
Well, let's have a quick recap of the poll vote and see what you guys thought heading into this one. Again, it was strong support for Wildcard, and I mean, off the back of a 7-0, probably backing this result, I'm feeling a little bit upset that I picked the draw because it's not looking very likely. But again, we don't know how this second map will play out.
Yeah, I mean, they could surprise us because we're being quite critical of them at the moment, but they could surprise us on Cafe. Okami picked it for a reason, so hopefully that is now justified. We are only moments away from finding that out. But Wildcard's form on Consulate just then was scary looking. And with that, they have locked in first place, by the way.
Well, there you go. First place for Wildcard. I'm sure they'll be stoked with that result. But they still have a map to play. It'll be Cafe for the second matchup this evening. Okami looking to try and build up some momentum for the playoffs. Try and win a map back. Let's see how this one plays out.
And as we said, we're going to be eagerly awaiting to see what Okami do have in store for us on Cafe. It is their map choice, and it's something that Wildcard have not played in Six Masters yet. Do not exactly know where they are at with this. And in general, with their new lineup, it was a very fresh lineup to them in Pro League Season 11. It's coming into Six Masters, we've been able to see it develop and shine. It was something you mentioned on that first map. So Cafe could now be one of their stronger maps. We're really are only about to find out.
Well, we are going to see Thatcher and Capitao both taken off the board here on the attack. Of course, Thatcher was taken out on Consulate, very strong in clearing out utility. And Capitao, quite proficient on Cafe and shutting down some rotates and some angles, particularly on the top floor clear. Heading into the ban phase though, we may well see Jaeger taken off the board here again from Wildcard. Mirror will be the pick of Okami, but will we see Projectile Denial taken out again?
To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised. I really felt like that ban was quite effective for Wildcard on the first map. Not going to be here actually, guys. They're going to go for the Goyo, which we only saw a little bit on Consulate. Definitely something that Okami used quite a lot of though. Those extra shields and the fire pit that ensues once it's blown up is a pretty important thing to be able to manage on attack. It's not something that I will have to deal with now.
And I mean, that Jaeger ban on Consulate, if you are just tuning in, played a pretty critical role in shutting down one of the main fraggers of Okami, being Itby Style. I do think in the end, he still top fragged for his team, but he wasn't quite as impactful as we're used to seeing. He was juggling quite a few operators there, trying to find something comfortable. And in the end, Wildcard really didn't give him the chance. So expect when we head into that second half, for Itby Style to feel a touch more comfortable.
Speaking of comfort, I mean, Ethan's the one playing Jaeger now. So we saw him go off with a bit of Ash on the attacks on Consulate before. So that he can hit some picks with Jaeger. They are bringing the combo with Lamai as well. So that's a lot of projectile denial. On top of the fact they've got the mute for intel denial. It's going to be quite a difficult defense lineup for Okami to deal with.
Camera activated.
10 seconds left before
Of course,
insertion.
keep in mind when attacking the kitchen bomb site, it often pays dividends to get above control, open the freezer hatch and create vertical angles in
Attackers are
and
moving
on
out to locate
towards
a
the
bomb and
site.
defuse it.
Sometimes we see the defenders invest some utility above, but it does look like Wildcard will be playing heavily off-site, play horizontally and prepare for a retake. Again,
bomb
another
has been
strong
located.
strategy. It's up to Okami to decide how they want to try and clear this out.
Playing that aggressive position there in the bakery. Very much aided by the castle barricade. Looks like no hard push there though. Going to be mostly top down from Okami, which brings a bit of a weakness here. If you are not quick enough, it can take obviously a long time, but it also means that you have very little time to really put that pressure on the site and be set up to get the plant down. Efficiency is going to be key here.
Itby Style will drop the Skylight on Ash. Again, playing an operator that is quite comfortable on, trying to find some picks early here. Jack Daddy as well on IQ, running the G8. Quite a common primary in competitive on IQ.
Attackers
There's
have
so
located
many
a bomb.
bullets to work with. The angled grip as well makes it a very deadly weapon. So far, it's looking quite strong though from Okami. Decent control early in the round, but keep in mind that Wildcard did extend horizontally, so pressure from above might not really mean a whole lot.
Now there are tricky positions that'll have to be flushed out there through VIP dining. Even Diesel playing around coat check at the moment at the bottom of red stairs. Is all things that Okami are going to have to manage. Ethan still has control over Prep and Bakery on top of that. So it's definitely not going to be an easy attack for Okami unless they are able to manage and get a couple of picks as well.
Ethan, pressured from above, will actually re-peek that. It's ill-advised and he is taken down. Not taken out yet. Maybe revived. Cutie looking to try and finish him off and does with the skeleton key. That's an early pick that Okami would like to see. They didn't get too many first bloods on Consulate, so it's a good start for them here on Cafe.
And now do have some good control here in Bakery, and with that rotate already open for them, they will only just be opening a little bit of extra with that blowtorch, but not quite as critical. Gives them a chance to be able to get Plant down while there is vertical control held beautifully by Cutie as he finds another pick. Answered back by Pat, 25 seconds. Plant's going to have to start going down.
Mangoes finds one as well, leaving it up to Pat and Diesel to try and deny the plant or retake it if it is stuck. Mangoes goes for it. Diesel not really in a position to cover from coat check as Pat will be covered himself. And Diesel with the UMP really struggling there to get the frag inside of Small Bakery is refragged. And Okami, it only took them 8 rounds, but they finally will get one on the board.
They do. They get their first round for the night, and it looked pretty good. They progressed beautifully from top down. Cutie worked perfect 2 picks. It opened it up for Okami because then they were able to get that Bakery control, push through Prep, and that really did set them up for that end of round.
Wildcard now will rotate to what some might say is the more traditional objective of choice, of course being the 3rd floor. Interesting 6 pick there from Pat, potentially there onto Castle. Can be used in quite a few ways here above. He may elect to put them on the cocktail balcony to try and stop anyone from repelling and pressuring players
Defenders, protect your
on
bombs
that
from
side
being
of the
defused by
objective.
attackers.
Alternatively, they might be scattered around lounge to try and soak up some utility. Either way though, it is something that Okami will need to deal with.
A similar lineup actually coming out from Wildcard as well. Not too much differentiation there from Kitchen. Likewise with Okami. And look, it's a great start from Okami on this map. We were a little concerned,
10 seconds
and
left.
I think rightfully so critical of exactly how this was going to play out. They've opened strong, which is great. That's allayed some of my fears. And they're opening strong on attack as well, which is traditionally the toughest side to deal with on a map like Cafe.
I mean, maybe tonight is going to be another attack-sided affair. I mean, there have been a couple of occasions here in Six Masters where the attack has been the favoured side. I mean, the first map of this evening only pushed that stat up. Wildcard winning 6 attacks straight and then the single defense. Not to say that Wildcard could have won more defenses, they just didn't have to because they won the map. It'll be interesting to see if Okami can maybe try and replicate some of that success here on this Cafe attack.
Wondering whether Ethan's going to go for that run out or not, maybe deciding not to, but there were 4 players all banked up on that west side. Not for sure if he jumped out, it might have been quite detrimental there for Okami, but he's decided not to. They are still trying to work at piano here, obtain some kind of control. Imarin's shield there at Pixel now removed from his face, which means he's not going to be as comfortable playing around. They managed to take out some drones though. Which is again pretty efficient from Okami. You generally want to have piano control by around the halfway point. This is going to give them pretty much just that.
That Pixel position now has been forfeited by Wildcard.
Bomb located by
Not enough
attackers.
utility there to sustain the anchor. Meanwhile, Mangoes has made his way inside of Cigar Shop. Diesel probing below. Could play a pivotal role in opening up this round for Wildcard. He has a C4, he has the angles and will find the pick. That's Ippy style taken down.
That is going to slow it down now for Okami as well, because that is somebody on the roam that they're going to be thinking about and worrying about with Red Stairs, for example. Mostly in control here now of Piano, at least with 50 seconds to go. They can start trying to get set up. Wildcard have done a great job renovating site, so there's no real comfort spot to plant here. Army are just trying to figure out exactly how they're going to deal with this. They're trying to flush out this washroom position that Immorin retreated to, and that is exactly that. Immorin taken out. 30 seconds to go, Guz. 4 versus 4.
Wildcard really trying to play with time here. Of course, it's against the attack, as it always is, and Okami with only 20 seconds left need to try and work on this entry quickly. Geo sprays down Jack Daddy, though. Well and truly in favor of Wildcard. Joker forfeits that position on Skylight, drops down, but is lit up. Does he find the frag? Not quite yet, but Ethan finds his. Ethan as well, and there we go. The round will be taken down. It was actually Geo as well. I'm getting my names mixed up. Wildcard just spraying down all of these entries. That was a stark contrast to the first round.
Really well set up there from Wildcard. I mean, it did start with that opening pick. Diesel below took out Ippy Style, who's quite the initiator for Okami traditionally on their attacks. And Okami just never really were able to get good control. Even after they flushed out Immorin from Washroom, there was never really a safe place to plant on site. They hadn't done anything with Cocktail.
Wildcard again will venture to a new objective. Reading Fireplace on this occasion. Of course, this objective will typically play out with the defender setting up utility above inside of Cocktail. Again, trying to soak up the time and the utility of Okami. And a lot of these operators from Wildcard will bring very critical utility to the board. Which, of course, as I mentioned, will soak up a lot of time and a lot of attacking utility.
The reading is the next site we'll see from Wildcard. Going to be holding fast up here, and again, Cocktail is going to be a critical spot to hold. Defended this successfully, and Okami going to have to be really efficient taking that. You need to be giving yourself a little bit over a minute to be able to utilize that vertical control
5 seconds left before
effectively.
insertion.
Because what can happen is even if you push positions out of reading,
Attackers must
you
locate
can still
and
play it
defuse
from
the
afar,
bomb.
and it's more of a retake style kind of site. Want to be trying to work some picks at least. Geo want a bit of a run here on the first floor with the Pulse. Looking for drones, getting some early intel.
Reminds me of Mount Logan.
Activate jammer.
Again, those mute jammers from Ethan,
Bomb located by attackers.
denying some of the hard breach and also some of the intel gathering on the side of Okami.
A bomb has been located.
They do look like they're going to go for the most common or the most traditional approach on the attack. That's a very, very spicy C4 from Ethan. He's downstairs in the laundry. He C4s the barricade. Doesn't do any damage to that player on the rappel, so that will be a C4 gone astray early in this round.
Yeah, it didn't really net him anything. And I wasn't sure whether he was going to try and save it for once it was actually hit open or not. Well, it didn't work out. Style has found his way in towards Cigar as well. Diesel is under a lot of pressure now on Cocktail. Well protected though from these ADSs, and he is also playing Wamai, so Magnets will be something he can use to help himself.
Defender
And
has
it's going to
left
be the real
area of
critical
operation.
spot. Pat is going to
Defender
impact
exposed.
on that run out. Takes himself up more than anybody else, in fact, but gets back in, at least with his life.
Here below, he's playing Pulse and to be able to provide a lot of intel. He can see Ippy Style, Mangoes, and pretty much the entirety of Okami who are pushing from above. Of course, the floor is soft and any C4 could prove deadly. Okami still trying to clear out Diesel, playing that Wamai. That shield is still standing. Somehow it has not been taken down. So much of that utility has been soaked. Another grenade will fly out, but that'll be caught by a Magnet as well. Unfortunately though for Diesel, he will pick up and is taken off the board.
So, Immorin fights back now. 45 seconds. Wildcard still at least evening out that man advantage means that they've got a bit of a shot here. Ethan deep in reading, trying to get some shots vertically. Immorin is still persisting at the top of white. Okami have not been able to deal with that, and now Pat is backing him up. Immorin is just going hard here. Could be on for the ace. He's got to find the final two. There's about 20 seconds to go.
May well do it. There is one at the top of white, but Pat will take that kill. Ethan will get the other wild card, get around back.
Ever since that first round, guys, Wildcard have looked a lot better, a lot cleaner. The teamwork is fantastic here, covering each other and trading out pretty much every pick that Okami have been able to get since. So pressure back onto Okami. It is Kitchen, which is the site they were successful on in that first round.
Indeed they were. In that first round, Wildcard really adopted sort of horizontal philosophy. Not many members sitting on side, instead spread out to the likes of Coat Check, the front bar, VIP. Not really a whole lot of presence above vertically. They forfeited that to Okami, who despite gathering that quite quickly and quite efficiently, weren't really able to do a whole lot with it.
Defenders,
Because
protect
as I
your
mentioned,
bombs from being
Wildcard were
defused by
quite
attackers.
content sitting off-site, really preventing Okami from executing in and on towards that objective.
Here's an operator we haven't seen a whole lot of recently, it feels like, and especially tonight, and that's Ella. Ethan on the Ella. Really bit of a scary sight, to be honest, given the form he's been in so far. He hasn't had as much of an impact on Cafe, but Consulate, he had a huge impact, really fragging out. Maybe that's the plan, or those Griswold lines might have another intended strategical effect. We'll see how it's used.
5 seconds to insertion.
Down. Go get him. Lethal wave deployed.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb.
I mean,
and
those
defuse
Grismop
it.
mines, not only do they sort of disturb the vision and the aim of any attackers that walk through them, but they just provide really simple
Bomb
intel as to
located
where a
by
push may
attackers.
be coming from, depending on where Ethan does decide to place them. And even if they are taken out, it'll either take one player to likely go in a risky position and shoot it with their gun, or at the expense of utility, which, let's be honest, Okami don't have a whole lot of. Trying to clear out that utility on top, the mute jammers, the Mozzie pests as well, castle barricades to boot. So that may well be a wise pick here from Ethan.
On top of that, Wildcard have completely changed their strategy. No longer having that horizontal stretch where they're playing around bakery, but they've extended extensively vertically here. They use a lot of reinforcements to protect dining and train and mining. And all the contests there. Ethan wins that with the Scorpion. That's Jack Daddy saying goodnight. Mangoes will answer back though to make it a 4 versus 4. Again, a lot of aggression here from Wildcard on this middle floor. Even if it stalls out Kami deep into that final minute, it's going to be very dangerous for the attack.
Ippy Style tries to filter down White, but Ethan gets him. Does he get the third? He does. That's Joker taken down, and Raven, that Ella pick so far proving to be very, very deadly, and Cutie and Mangoes are now basically deserted in a 2-on-4. Wildcard can retreat back towards site, and surely this round is unwinnable for Okami.
I just saw the pile of Okami on White Stairs. They all died in pretty much the exact same spot there to Ethan's Scorpion. Look, that's just not a great way for Okami to have pushed it either, because they just all pushed one by one right into the White Stairs. Ethan was there with a very competent gun, but also he had a teammate backing him up, so not many worlds where that was going to go any different way. Mangoes does get one back, which does make it a 2 versus 3. Still a bit of time on the board as well. It's 45 seconds. Got some control near site with Cutie above. Maybe there is a touch of possibility here.
It's a glimmer of hope here for Okami, looking to try and draw the map to a piece. Mangoes, though, has been spotted on that bulletproof camera. Trying to take that out will prove extremely difficult. Cutie might be able to get in position to punch it, but that's going to expose him to the cross towards Freezer.
A bomb
His
has been
angle's just being
located.
shut down at the moment by Wildcard. Mangoes will attempt the plant, but he
Attacker's bomb
himself
diffuser has
is
been
taken off the
dropped.
board, and Ethan has
10
gotten
seconds
4.
left. Attackers
The
recovered
question
bomb
is,
diffuser.
can he find the ace? The pings are going out. He's waiting above. Can he find the pick? He
There it
does. And Ethan will get 5 in the 4th round.
You could kind of just feel that his teammates were trying to give him the call out and let him get that. They weren't peeking, they weren't
Yeah.
moving, they just knew. And Ethan was frantically running around on the holes trying to find it. Did get it. Well deserved. 3-1, Wildcard are up now. Ever since that first round, they have just been so strong on these defenses. That Kitchen defense looked nothing like round 1, and neither did Okami's effort at attacking it.
Ethan so far tonight has been absolutely popping off. I believe he got 14 kills or thereabouts on map number 1, which was concert to, again, I believe a single death. If that match had have gone longer than 7 rounds, he may well have
Locate and defuse bombs.
beaten his previously set record, but it wasn't meant to be, and I'm sure he's not going to be too disappointed. 7-0 is always great. So far here on the second map, he's going 7-1. Looking to try and replicate that form. Kami just having so many troubles in shutting him down, and they just don't have an answer.
We're seeing Ibisal again being pretty quiet for Okami in these first 4 rounds. He's only able to get 1 kill, in fact. I was talking in the pre-show, I believe it was you that mentioned it, guys, about players stepping up for Okami, and there have been matches where Ibisal, who has been the more regular one to step up for Okami, where he's struggled, and that's when Okami also struggle. They don't have that aggressive fragging player out in the front helping them initiate and open up the round. That's exactly what they're facing
Attackers have
here
located a
again.
bomb.
I mean, talking about players that are stepping up, Ethan again, showing that confidence, going for an incredibly risky spawn peek. It doesn't pay off, but I definitely think it's a reflection of how he's feeling at the moment, just wanting to take on as many gunfights as possible, and really keeps his team's hopes of a 2-0 alive. The more picks he can find, the more demoralizing it really does become here for Okami. So far, it just hasn't really felt like it's been Okami's night, and outside of that 1-round win, it again looking to be wild cards at the moment.
Last time we saw Bar Cocktail defended by Wildcard, they held it dominantly at that. So Okami again going to have to... Ethan lurking
Attackers have dropped the
below.
bomb diffuser.
He is the danger man, and Mangoes has actually been downed with Diffuser. Wildcard maybe able to capitalize, but no, Ibisal does catch Diesel in Cigar. Mangoes may also be recoverable, which could be a very important point here for Okami.
Diffuser dropped as well at the top of red. So that will need to be collected by Okami if they will go for a plan. Does appear as if Cutie on Buck will hit the revive, so Mangoes is back up, but a single
Attackers
shot
have
will
recovered
take
their
him
defuse.
down and out. West, 2 minutes into this round and they are still repelling outside of the lounge here, right?
Bomb located by attackers.
Mangoes has finally found himself into shop. Ibisal as well at tree, but
Magic going
it's
on.
taken a long time.
Has taken a lot of their time, and that means that they aren't going to have much left for the execute, which we saw happen last time because of the way that Wildcard set up site with so many holes through all those cabinets. There's nowhere safe to plant, and again, they have not been able to disturb anybody playing around Cocktail or important positions. So denial shouldn't be too tricky here for Wildcard, given the time left.
Pat just creating some more bullet holes. If that wall gets open into backstore, he has perfect line of sight. Emerin, he's tasked with holding Pixel. A couple of players out there that he needs to be mindful of as Mango creates more angles towards that backstore position. Ibisal gets aggressive and finds one, but is traded out, leaving it in a 4-on-3, and they're just going to go for frags here. Surely Gio and Pat now need to hold out. They're actually at the man disadvantage. 2 players from Okami, so lit,
5
but
seconds
Cutie
remaining.
does find one. Gio now left to clutch it up. Cutie, a single bullet will take him down. Gio does have that bullet hose, but he can't find the picks, and Okami will take the round.
just came down to an absolute scrap fight there in that final 10 or so seconds. It's really where a lot of those picks happened. Okami finally get their next round, so they could be looking at a 3-3 half, and I think just considering the form that Wildcard had in the rounds they won, a 3-3 half would feel quite good for Okami.
I definitely agree. I feel like the rounds that Wildcard have won overall have looked a little bit stronger. That said, though, of course, Okami are on the attack. Expect it to be a little bit more challenging. Especially coming off the back of Consulate, a 3-3
Attackers need to
will
locate and defuse as many bombs
definitely
as they can.
feel good. And to give them some more confidence heading into this defense.
Talk about the stakes as well. I mean, the first map was all about maintaining this battle of who could get first place, and with Wildcard taking that, I believe it is out of reach for Okami now, so it's really a battle for second place for Okami. But even then, I mean, I'm not 100% sure on the math, but when I was having a quick peek in the break, it looks like they won't have the round difference with Sinister. So as far as I can tell, we have essentially the top 3 spots locked in,
5
being
seconds left
Wildcard,
before insertion.
Sinister, and Okami. But don't quote me yet. We'll wait and see at the end of the night, but I'm pretty
Objective is to
confident that's how it
locate
is.
a bomb and defuse it.
Of course, that doesn't mean the teams aren't really fighting for nothing. No one wants to end off the season with a loss. These teams will want to try and muster any sort of momentum that they can carry on to those playoffs.
You can stop worrying about grenades now.
I mean, there could well be a scenario in the playoffs where these two teams play each other once again. Don't want to be having any sort of doubts in the back of your mind, thinking, oh, we had a bad match against them during the season, or any sort of doubt, as I mentioned, in the back of your minds that you don't have what it takes to beat their opponent. I'm sure Okami will want to take a map win here, even if it doesn't mean a whole lot in terms of the standings, but just give them some backing if they end up versing Wildcard again in the playoffs.
And this can help as well. This is a fresh match of learning how your opponent's playing, where they're at, their little play styles and patterns. It does help you set up for a match like in the playoffs. I think it is quite likely that we will see these teams playing off again. Definitely as much of intel gathering as a series as opposed to also just winning in general. Back to the round at hand, though, almost half the round gone. Gaz, and not as much progress made by Okami as probably would be required. Jack Dad does get an opening pick, as I say that, though, onto Ethan, an impact player for Wildcard, so that is a big one there from Jack Dad. They're putting a lot of pressure here onto the top of White Stairs, just where Emorin almost got an ace in the previous round. We saw this held.
Attackers dropped the diffuser.
Sensor activated.
Geo finds one back onto Mango. He's leaving it now in a 4-on-4. Geo below gathering some intel. Okami won't want to stand still for too long. They risk being taken out by a C4. Diesel again on the line holding this position in Cocktail. Ibisal gets very aggressive with the Ash charge. That was pretty silly in the end. Diesel takes him down. Now Wildcard will take the man advantage.
Deploying sensor.
The attacker's bomb diffuser has been
Just
dropped.
so much utility to deny projectiles there. Of course, Diesel being the one my playing it and pocket up those magnets. Jack Daddy does get Emorin at the top of White, which means Diesel is now super exposed. Pushes through, but a good refrag from Pat at the top of White. Another great rotate to assist his teammate. Final 30 seconds, 2 versus
Attackers
2.
recovered the bomb diffuser.
Slight HP advantage for Okami, and they have to start thinking about this plan.
It's going to come down to who can be more proficient in the refrag department, and so far this evening you'd have to back Wildcard. Only 10 seconds left, and Okami
10 seconds
will
left.
struggle to get that plant down. Cutie's going to force a push at 90. Question is, can he find any picks? These footholds could prove deadly. There's a player to his left. Does he know that? Yes, he vaults and gets the pick. Pat can't refrag that. Cutie forced to stick the plant. Question is, can Joker come? They're both stuck in the corner, but Pat can't find either of them, and Okami will manage to even out the half.
That has got to be huge props to Cutie, just the way that he played that. And I'm a little surprised, maybe some lack of comms or intel from Wildcard. He shot the default in that corridor. right before bucking through. Maybe that Castle trying to play it a little passive. He looked surprised, if I'm completely honest. So really well played from Cutie to make that play. He got that diffuser down right in the final milliseconds of the round. And 3-3 for the half. I think that works out quite well for Okami in the end.
Of course, now we will see Wildcard on the attack, and they managed to win 6 straight on Consulate. If they bring those deadly pushes, that deadly late round execute again here to Cafe, we could well see them take this one away. I mean, intriguing, I think, to see how Wildcard approaches. Will they play a similar playstyle to Consulate? And if they do, how's Okami going to try and deal with that?
Feed active. Whoa, reinforced!
Ethan back on the Ash as well. He had quite a lot of damage on Consulate. You have to be wary of that. They've got some good operators for this first round, though, bringing Omai and Jaeger. Ippy finally able to play his little Jaeger again, so we'll see whether he gets back into the game here. Some comfort, but they've got the Wamai, and the Mute, I think, is also such an important pick. I talked about it on Consulate. But against Wildcard, I just think you have to constantly be bringing something to deny intel gathering of their attack. Their droning is just too good to let them do it unaffected.
LED scanning.
A bomb has been located.
Again, both these teams have qualified for the playoffs, and it's looking like
Adding some protection from grenades. Mag is ready.
Okami will finish second or third.
Reloading.
More than likely third at this stage,
Reloading.
Scanning for electronic devices.
which will have an impact on how the seeding will work for the playoffs. But again, neither team wanting to fault here too much on the final play day, trying to carry some momentum into the playoffs. If these teams face off again, they want to be backing themselves. Playoffs is not the time to have doubt. Talking about confidence, Ippy style, back on Jaeger will be at the Christmas tree. Does Diesel know he's there? That's the question. Ippy style, has he been droned out? It doesn't really look like anyone from Wildcard is paying attention to this position. Diesel isn't really aware, I don't think. So this could be very, very, I guess, fascinating to see if Ippy style holds this position.
I do have a drone there, and I don't think he's been seen, guys. I think you're right. He's going to rappel in right next to the Jaeger.
Oh, no.
Ippy does get that pick, easy as you like, but it is refragged from the red stairs. At least Ethan there to capitalize. But, importantly, that is the Habana taken off the board. The HUD reacher. So no angles through backstore, no rotate into the bar near where the trash bags are. Which means Wildcard are going to have to be able to push a little deeper and get a little bit more control.
Quite unfortunate for Wildcard, who will need now to switch up their attack. Drones head out as they try and find an entry point in towards the site. They will be essentially forced to filter here through the shop door, maybe go for a plant to the left near the chassis, or maybe even a bins. Either way, though, it's going to be quite uncomfortable without that Habana on the board. And only 30 seconds to go. Cutie finds that pick. Ethan goes to try and refrag. It almost gets shot himself, but that player at Cocktail will miss, and Ethan will take them out. He gets his triple. Could he be on for another ace? Cutie trying to hold him back. He's so low on HP. Jack Daddy finds one. Ethan will find 4, and he gets the ace again here for Wildcard. Ethan just cannot be shut down.
Jeez, Ethan is just on fire lately. That's his second ace for the evening. Second ace for the map, in fact. We talked about it in an LFO game just on Tuesday. Mims managed to get 2 aces in a single map, and we wondered whether that had happened before. But now we've seen it twice in the same week. At this stage, I think the Okami game plan is, guys, just shoot Ethan, please.
Okami desperately trying to hold on for time in that previous round, but Ethan just found so many picks there on the entry.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
Insane effort from him to demoralize poor Okami. So close to winning their first
Bomb
defense.
located
They
by
will now be
attackers.
forced to go there again, or they won't be forced to go there again. They will elect to go there again. It's something they attempted on. Look. Same site over and over. Didn't really work at all. We could well see if we're up here on camera.
10 seconds left before insertion.
You can stop
Very well
worrying
good.
about grenades now.
5
Interesting
seconds
here with
left.
this lineup at least, which honestly, I mean, their defense was
Target deployed.
half decent, right? It really just came down to Ethan fragging out in that previous round. I think there was a lot that Okami did well, but you also have to comment that one thing that won't work out again is Ipistyle's position on stage. You've got to bet your bottom dollar that Wildcard are going to heavy drone that out this time.
Adding some protection from grenades. Target ready. Let them go.
Currently scanning.
Pretty similar setup here from Okami.
Stop worrying about grenades now!
Again, it wasn't the worst start to the round at all, really. I mean, we had Ipistyle find the pick onto Diesel, playing the one and only hard breach.
I will watch over her.
Really just fell apart late round. Expect Wildcard to maybe try to be a little bit more proficient and prepared this round. Try to keep Diesel alive. So close to costing them that final round. Really only winning it off the back of Ethan's aggression. So I'm sure they'll be trying to cover him a little bit better on this occasion.
Drones ready.
Pretty good intel gathering from Wildcard, of course. It's what we've come to expect. Piano is basically theirs now. Diesel, I'm sure he's drone staged. I'm sure they're very much aware. Emerin is in Cigar. So this is a lot of good map control to take in that first half of the round. It was a tough position there over on the cocktail balcony extension. Ipistyle could have almost got a pick onto
A bomb has
Emerin.
been
There's something
located.
else that Wildcard are going to have to be careful of. This is a lot of pressure to put onto Okami pretty early into the round.
Diesel trying to drone out Pixel. There's a mute jammer halting that, a player at the top of white as well. I think that bathroom wall might be jammed and Diesel is unable to open it. Quite sure how Wildcard going to try and deal with that jammer. Is he will now try to open backstore? That may be muted as well. Ethan will try and head that entry. Not really a whole lot he can do, and again, Wildcard are stalled out.
Joker there as well, using his shield to be able to prevent the push through white. This has really stalled out Wildcard. This is really well played from Okami on their defense. Ipistyle still not spotted out either over on that cocktail extension. It could be bad for Wildcard here with only 30 seconds to go. They have to start thinking of plan. Ipistyle, he comes into it
Have recovered their
just as they finish talking about it. That's Diesel down. He gets Pat as well.
Attackers
25
recovered their
seconds, guys. It's not looking good for Wildcard.
Not much time, but we've seen them bring back these before. 15 seconds left now. Ethan again will enter. How many can he find? Doesn't quite find the first there. Over towards Cocktails. Emorin will find his, but there we go. Ethan will get Mangoes. The pistol's out again. He finds Joker. No way. They cannot shut him down. And Cutie again is left inside of bathroom. And if Wildcard gets someone on the skylight, this round will surely be unwinnable for Okami. Cutie's position likely revealed as those shots from the SMG rain out. Emorin on the rappel will head to the roof Raven, and this round is basically impossible to win, and Ethan will get the final kill again. A dominant entry will equate to a round win.
They're just letting him run through the middle of sight. There's so many potential crossfires they could have had that just allowed him to slip through. Okami had done so well for a lot of that defense, but at the final part when they needed to be holding those crossfires, it just slipped away. And now Wildcard are only 2 rounds away from getting the map guns, and importantly 1 round from at least forcing it to overtime. It's going to be starting to put a lot of pressure back onto Okami now.
And I mean, at the halfway point of this map, it felt like Okami were in touch. But these attacks so far this evening across both Consulate and now Cafe have been
Defenders, protect your bombs.
incredibly dominant
By
for Wild
attackers.
Card. That late round aggression, those late round pushes, the refragging, the aim,
Bomb
the
located
movement
by
has just
attackers.
all been A+. And unfortunately, Okami unable to shut it down. So far it has been a rough evening for them. Still an opportunity to bring this map back. As these attacks play out, it begins to look a little bit more unlikely.
5 seconds left before insertion.
Yeah, they really have started to have a pretty big rough
Attackers are
patch
moving
here
to
on those
bomb.
Bar Cocktail defenses. They get it afresh now though with Kitchen. We haven't seen them defend this yet, so they might have some tricks up their sleeves that change the tide for them. But right now, Wildcard are steamrolling ahead. Being Kitchen defense, I think it's likely Wildcard are going to be pushing top down, and actually 2 Kami players up the top at the moment, at least, setting some traps to potentially slow down this attack.
A bomb has been located.
This file's been left over towards Cocktail. Playing Jaeger. Hasn't been the worst defensive half from him yet, but hasn't been quite as dominant as we have come to expect so far this season. He is one of the top fraggers in 6 Masters. But unfortunately for him and Okami, tonight hasn't really proven that. Joker will try and team up with him over towards the white stairs. Wildcard with some pretty swift map control on the top floor as they will try and eventuate that below, but Geo will find that pick. The C4 does not explode, and Joker is left to sit out the rest of the round.
Scores, that's a drone for us.
Oof, that was a sharp shot there from Geo. Half the round delayed. Wildcard still pretty much top floor, and Ippy still hanging around on this first floor. Don't think they're aware that it's going to run straight into him. The refrag, not possible. He almost gets 3 Guz. But of course, who's the man to step up? It was Ethan. Shuts him down. Does make it 3 versus 3 though.
If there's anyone you want left to refrag, that is Ethan. 16 and 3 for him so far,
On the other side.
off the back of one of the most dominant attack halves we've seen in the entire season on Consulate. This round though, currently a 3-on-3. Ethan is low on HP, so the argument could be made Okami have some advantage for the rest of this round. The question is, can they convert it?
Now they really are discovering about this alibi as well. Pat trying to push towards Freezer. There's a lot of positions here in VIP. Shoots the same Prisma twice, I believe. That'll be a bit frustrating for him. Looks to be getting aggressive there as the alibi in VIP, but 20 seconds. No clean entry into sight. This is definitely going to be tough for Wildcard.
15 seconds to
Stage
go.
of the round.
So many angles for Pat to be shut down from as Diesel actually goes for the plan. It's Ethan now to cover. He finds one. Mangoes, what can he do? Nothing. The plant goes down. Diesel will find another, and now it's a 1-on-1. Mangoes, a single shot will take him down. 2 for Diesel. Mangoes will progress towards the side. Can the pre-fire work? Oh, it doesn't quite. Diesel will find the pick. Wildcard will take the round. It was close. But Okami just unable to convert again.
Yeah, I really thought they had enough control there with such little time to go, but Wildcard still managed to slip through. Ethan found one of those, and Diesel is, of course, one of those players that you would back in those clutch situations. That is Wildcard now on match point, guys. They are up 6-3. Gonna see Okami repeat that sight, see if they can make something work.
It was looking good there for Okami. Unfortunately though, Wildcard able to sneak that plant in. Coverage was just enough. Unfortunately, Mangoes didn't quite have the HP to peak that. If he did, he probably would have come out on top.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many
Wildcard
bombs
are
as they
around
can.
away now, taking this map and well and truly taking top spot here in Six Masters. Been a great season from them so far, and they're looking to end this one on a high. Their last season of Pro League Season 11 wasn't amazing. They had a new roster. They took that time to really rebuild their identity. There was still a little bit of doubt heading into this season if they had what
10 seconds
it
remaining.
would take to make the playoffs or
Razor wire going
show
up.
up as much as they have, but
5 seconds left before insertion.
so far, it's only,
Attackers
it's
are
only
moving
been a
out to
single
locate a bomb and defuse it.
map loss for them so far, and outside of that, it has been a great season.
Device placed.
Bomb located by attackers.
You can stop worrying about grenades.
Alright, so it's up to Akami now. They've got to dig deep here. Stick their heels in and get 3 rounds in a row so they can force this map to overtime.
Attackers
Going to
have
be
located a
roaming
bomb.
quite extensively, in fact, for a kitchen defense, which is what they were doing in the previous round. Nippy Style did manage to find 2. Joker was the first one to die, thanks to a bullet from Geo. He's captured a drone as well, so there's a little bit of extra intel there.
Drones up and running.
That's also not a common spot to be droned out for this clear. Might work out for Rippy Style.
Oh. I wonder if I was I was so confused. I was about to say, I wonder if Ippy Style's been droned, and then I was like, well, yeah. Yeah, let's move on. It's obviously Mozzie drone, so it wouldn't matter. Wow. Amazing. Anyway, though,
Good one.
we're almost getting, we're almost getting close to the halfway point in this round. And Wildcard will now look to try and flash out any players that are roaming. Ippy Style could be in an engagement soon at Pillars. That is Ethan, the danger man for Wildcard, but he will scathe away, and Ippy Style can't find the pick. Diesel finds himself one. That's Mango's taken off the board, and Wildcard, they're edging closer and closer to this map win.
And that really negated the lethalness that could have occurred from Ippy Style. That being said, Joker is going to be lethal with that C4 into Diesel. It's hard breacher off again, so that's pretty critical. Of course, the clutch player from the previous round, no longer able to have further impact. That does
That
get
will-
Joker in return, though, and Ippy Style cannot win a gunfight with Ethan. 2 versus 4,
Attackers have
guys.
recovered their diffuser.
Cutie and Jack Daddy to try and hold on here. Wildcard win this round. They will finish at the top of the standings. They will finish off what has almost
Attackers have
been
dropped the bomb
a
diffuser.
flawless season.
Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
Cutie and Jack Daddy with a tall order. 30 seconds to work with. Cutie tries to shoot that drone. His position will now be revealed to that player on brown stairs. Anyone coming down red could cut him off as well. And there we go. He's shut down. And now it's
15
Jack
seconds to
Daddy.
go.
Left in a 1 versus 4 Wildcard, looking to try and close out Cafe, but they can't. Jack Daddy finds 2. He is eventually refragged though, and Wildcard will shut down Okami, taking the map in the end. And what a great season it's been.
Capping it off nicely, Wildcard, with that map win. We said they might be lethal on Cafe, and 7-3 is a pretty lethal scoreline. Does cement them first place, and also cements Okami third place, in fact, behind Sinister in second. And guys, that was a strong match from Ethan. Look at that, 18-5.
Wildcard is so potent on their attacks. They won every single attack on Consulate, every single attack on Cafe. That equates to 10 rounds straight on their attacks. Not a single one dropped throughout the entire evening. And heading into the playoffs, that is very scary for some of these other teams.
It is. They are in such good form. They really presented strongly tonight against Okami, who are by no means a weak opponent. I mean, on the other hand, it's hard to gauge exactly whether that was also Okami having a bad game or simply Wildcard just running over the top of them regardless. Wildcard are looking deadly going into playoffs.
And I mean, outside of maybe one team playing badly or the other playing really well, there's also the factor of maybe Okami, you know, saving strats if you would, but I don't think that those scorelines can really be attributed to that. Even if you're playing basic default strategies, you're probably going to be a little bit more proficient than that. It wasn't like Wildcard were bringing anything too crazy to the board, so Okami really should have dealt with some of that better, I think.
The only crazy that Wildcard were bringing was Ethan. And outside of that, you're right. Like, it was pretty much what you would call classic Wildcard, and Okami just so badly struggled to deal with that. And a lot of it came down to the teamwork, which we highlighted quite a lot in the pre-show. At every instance, every gunfight, Wildcard were there, somebody backing them up. There was just the odd occasion that maybe Ethan was off by himself or running deep to just gun it out, and that just managed to work out for him. But outside of that, Wildcard were just doing such a good job of playing together, backing each other up, and they were trading at almost every instance.
And I remember definitely hyping up Wildcard and Ethan's ability to refrag, but one thing that really stood out to me, not as much really on Cafe, was actually Consulate. Their ability to take out utility quickly and efficiently was nuts. And keep in mind, on both maps, Thatcher was off the board. So they used the remaining tools that they had, whether that was, you know, lifeline impacts, frag grenades, whatever it was. They were super efficient in taking out any utility, whether that be hard breach denial, intel gathering, whatever the case was. And that didn't leave a lot for Okami to work with.
Yeah, very thorough from them and just thought out. They never rushed in through any of these attacks. We saw it so many times, just with their drones in good little spots, found that utility, figured out the most efficient way to clear it, and it just felt like there were never any answers for that.
Well, we do have our first interview of the night ready. It is Sentis from Okami.
Hello
mate.
there, guys. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Look, I'm just going to come straight out of the gates. Were you guys saving strats tonight, yes or no?
What? I didn't hear you. Sorry.
Were you guys saving strats, yes or no?
Yes and no. So obviously we didn't want to go 7-0. That was not planned, but we purposefully went on defense first on Consulate. We were they picked it, so we could decide, and we were aware that that we haven't changed anything on it yet, or that we haven't implemented the strats yet, and that they're gonna be aware of what we're doing. They saw our game yesterday, the day before, and so it was pretty clear that they're gonna probably 5-1 in that direction as it went against Elevate as well. So that wasn't surprising at all. It wasn't planned to lose 7-0, obviously, but we just didn't put ourselves in the right position, and this time we sadly weren't able to come back as we did 2 nights ago. Happens. I don't think we're too upset about it. We secured our spot in the top 3, and yeah, we're pretty happy with that, I guess.
Yeah, I want to just ask a little bit about Cafe. You ended up choosing that for your map selection, and you guys started pretty strong on it, but it never really stuck. Maybe tell us a little bit about your decision to take Wildcard to Cafe.
I think it was just a momentary decision. We were deciding between 2 maps and was just like, okay, we rather want to play this right now. And we didn't really prepare much for Cafe against them. It was one of the maps we were just generally good at and we can play, we feel comfortable on. This time it just didn't work out. That's unlucky. We should have prepared better, especially for more maps because of the ban system, which is, I have to say it, but sadly it's a little bit shit. And so we just prepared for 3 maps and in the end decided to pick another map than we were planning because we just didn't feel like playing that map and it just didn't work out that well in the days before. And we should definitely not have lost Cafe like we did, but in the end, yeah, can't change it, doesn't change much for us, and yeah, was unlucky.
Well, of course, Okami, you guys don't have an organization to represent you, but you do have a lot of fans out there. What would you like to say to those that have been backing you for this season and, of course, heading into the playoffs?
Thank you so much for everyone who's been supporting us, especially behind the scenes, Candor and Caliber Jacob, both amazing people. Candor just made this for us, a little shirt, some merch, if anybody likes us enough. It's the 6 Masters edition of Okami merch. So if you want to support us, if you want to show us some love, get that. It looks amazing. Designs are amazing. And yeah, besides that, thank you so much for everybody who's been supporting us. We might not be Oracleless anymore at the start of the new split, but we'll see. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to be first place next season. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, all the best at the playoffs. Hopefully we talk soon. See you, man.
See ya.
Ooh, Org. Ooh.
Bit of a tease there from Centus. But yeah, they can just focus now on playoffs and be ready for that. That's the beauty about having the playoffs, is they just needed to be in it. They now know where they're placed. They can start getting ready. And it does make it quite spicy that these guys will potentially be having a rematch in the playoffs. We won't know, but at some stage you would think that Okami and Wildcard will probably cross paths again.
And I mean, I'm definitely expecting that to be a closer match. I mean, even in Centus's own words, they said that they weren't really expecting massive things tonight. They knew, especially on console, that Wildcard had that really recent intel on them. They didn't really try and bring anything too crazy to the board. Of course, they didn't want it to end 7-0, but at the same time, they weren't pushing overly hard for that map win. So come playoffs, when they're both better prepared, it should make for an interesting matchup.
Yeah, and let's start talking about the side of Wildcard. I mean, they've now gone through such a solid season of 6 Masters leading into playoffs. And again, they will be thinking about their opponents ahead, which they may find out later tonight. We do have an exciting series, but Wildcard themselves, they have had such a strong season.
Indeed, they have. We do have Silex on the line. Let's say hello. Silex, a great season. You
Hey.
only dropped the one map throughout. How are you guys feeling, and how are you guys feeling heading into the playoffs?
Yeah, it was a good season all up. Yeah, feeling pretty good for the playoffs. It's still a while away, so a lot of stuff to work on. Can never get complacent. Always got to improve.
Yeah, look, you guys put on a really dominant display tonight. You chose Consulate. I guess I just want to ask a little bit, was there any big rationale behind playing Consulate against Okami? Was it purely the fact that you saw them play it on Tuesday?
I mean, that does factor into a lot of things. It's unlikely that they'll change too much over the course of a couple of days. So we kind of went in kind of knowing what they're going to do. And it's always been one of our good maps, I think. So we're quite confident on it. But yeah, like 7-0 was a pretty strong performance by the guys.
Yeah, speaking of strong, I don't know, is there something that's in Ethan's water? I think we want to find out the secret, because he has had such a good season for you guys. I don't know whether you want to maybe talk a little bit about anything that Ethan's done differently this season, or your roles, and maybe how that's facilitated his play.
Ethan's always been a really strong player. He's got a big brain behind him. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about that. Just incredible performance by him tonight. 2 aces. That clutch with that pistol for the last kill. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, of course, you guys will lock in first place. You'll be heading to the playoffs. We don't know exactly all the teams that will be going there, but is there one team in particular that you're really looking forward to taking on?
So 3 of the positions are locked in place. Just don't know the last one. I don't know. It'd be nice to play Sinister again. With Derp on the lineup, it's just like a little bit of rivalry, I guess. But yeah, still love the guy, of course.
Awesome. Well, we'll have to wait and see. All the best at the playoffs, Silex. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Bye. Yeah, like a little bit of rivalry, and I mean, we talked about that a little bit earlier. Wildcard taking on Sinister could be a really interesting matchup. I'm sure if we see that, that'll be a real barn burner.
Look, I really would be excited to see that matchup again at whatever stage it comes in the playoffs. I think Sinister were a little bit frustrated they didn't do better against Wildcard back at the start of the season. And I know a lot of that came down to the fact that that was really their first time competing with Derp. I know he was brought in very late in terms of 6 Masters for that team. And we've clearly seen how their form has progressed throughout the season. So I think Sinister would be really backing themselves into that series, and I think it would be a really exciting match.
Well, that does wrap up this series between Wildcard and Okami, but on the other side of the break, it's the battle for the playoffs. It's Ferox taking on LFO.
10 seconds left. Attackers have dropped the bomb. Attackers dropped the diffuser. seconds left.